the trash, not the water.
But there was a concern that a number of people, their real estate bill goes to their mortgage company too.
Right.
Are they looking at that trash bill and doing anything with it? I don't know.
Yeah.
there
But
was
no,
a-
on the water, there were people that were letting it flow into the tax bill, because then they could write it off and they pay it the
Yeah,
following year.
I mean, we actually went and looked at the IRS guidelines, and they specifically make reference, the first two of the three examples they give make reference to, you can't pay your water bill and you can't pay a trash bill by letting it go that route. So it's, we kind of put that wording in that letter that went out, or the stuffer that went out in the mail.
I saw that.
It was just kind of humorous that they really pointed to the two examples we've been thinking of here, that people are letting it go to lien, and is that legal? Probably not.
Well, I see two problems here. One is collections, but the other is that in order to fund the balanced budget in the water department, we need that increase. And it's directly related to an uncontrollable situation in our part, which is buying water from Andover. So I'm not sure that offering everyone, raising the rates by 12% and offering everybody a 12% discount solves that problem. It solves one problem maybe, but if it solves that one problem, then it doesn't solve the second problem. It doesn't solve both problems.
And the kind of hybrid approach I give as option 2A is to raise it some percent, 12% in this example, and then bring the discounted rate down, not by 12%, but by 10%, which effectively gives the 2% rate increase to everyone, and then a 12% rate increase to those who have not paid on time.
Comments, anybody? Thoughts?
What's remaining in the balance for the MTBE settlements? Yeah.
We haven't touched that at all at this point.
What's that intended to be used for?
It can be used for rate stabilization, or it could be used for capital improvement. So you kind of have two options there.
Just let 'em finish.
Given that, I think I'd be in favor of the option 2 that you set up, Mark, where it's a 12% increase, but given the discount for those that pay on time. And the fallback would be, we'd have funds in the MTBE settlements in case everyone does take the option and pay on time, especially for this coming year.
Jeff?
Two questions. The 1,000 gallons, the 1,000 gallons, what does that reflect as far as a given household? Okay, I mean, sometimes when I look at my water bill, I say, how did I use that much? You know, I think a lot of people ask that question. And what is a typical 1,000 gallon period equate to? Is that just taking showers and doing the dishes, you know?
Yeah, it's real tough to say because every household is individual usage. The American Water Works Association says the average person, so if there's one of you in your house, the average person uses 65 gallons a day of water. I find that to be a high number. I think indoor residential usage during the winter is probably on the order of 40 to 45 gallons per person, but they equate it to that. And a lot of the standards that the state's placed on us in terms of water conservation are based on that 65 gallon a day number. Now, when you roll in the people that are irrigating their lawns and whatnot, they can use 1,000 gallons a day just for that purpose.
Right.
So you gotta factor that on top. You know, teenagers, you got a girl in the shower for 20 minutes.
Right, I asked that question because, like, last year I didn't water my lawn at all, okay? I didn't see any difference, there was a minimal difference in my water bill, so,
Okay.
I just didn't understand that. But with regard to what Sean was saying, I do like number 2 very much because, I pay my bill on time, I do it whenever I can, and then I save some money. But I think for the town, 2A might be the better option because you're still getting a discount, but yet the town is still collecting a little bit of an increase, and it still fits into what Sean is suggesting. You're looking for 4%, correct? Right, at 4%, so it's kind of like a halfway point there. So that idea seems to be a pretty good idea.
But my question is, that doesn't necessarily get you to your 4%, though.
It doesn't.
It only gets you to 2%.
It's, 2% is more or less guaranteed, but
Right.
it doesn't necessarily get you your 4%.
No, it doesn't, so it doesn't close the anticipated gap.
Right. There will be some
That's
people
the
that pay
point I was
late.
making, was
Yeah.
that 2 and 2A, right, they don't guarantee both issues. And nor does 1 from the point of view of collections. But the collections, we get the money eventually. So I don't think that's as big a problem. It's a cash flow issue, not a loss of revenue.
But at least for the, next year, we do have those funds sitting in the settlement funds, in that account, that haven't been touched. I mean, I think, how many times can we keep hitting people and increasing, whether it's real estate taxes, water rate increase, we have this pool of money sitting there. This gives the resident an option to pay within the 30 days and not see any increase. And we have those funds available to us, and see how it,
We could make that kind of decision, but I think that the idea that we've got this one-time money, and it is one-time money, I think it should be reserved for capital.
I concur.
no, I understand, I'm not saying doing this in perpetuity, but let's see how it plays out over the next year.
I don't know, somebody offered me a 12% discount for paying on time. I mean, that's a lot of incentive. Mr. Vino?
Yes, I understand all the concerns, but I tend to go along with Mr. Delaney, to try it for 1 year and see what it does do. Because we do have funding to cover it if it does fall short. And if it was too successful, try 2A the next year, or totally eliminate it and go back to the straight rate. Especially in these times, I wouldn't have a problem trying option 2, given the discount, if you pay on time.
I guess I'm missing something here. We have a revenue shortfall based on the fact that Andover has raised their rates. And all that is being proposed here is to raise our rate to compensate for what our costs are, period. Right? It's an enterprise fund. I can't see us raising our rate 12% to give everybody a 12% discount, or raising our rate 12% to give everybody a 10% discount. It doesn't make sense to me. I'm sorry.
Well, don't a lot of industries do that to generate immediate revenue and to keep the constant flow of the revenue coming in? I mean, that's
They don't do it,
Not our
they don't do it
problem
at a
here.
loss, though.
Well, I think the object-
What's being proposed here is to propose a discount at a loss.
Yeah, and
You
we
know,
don't
and
have a, we don't
the
have a
thing is, you know,
cash
we
flow
have-
problem.
We have a definite
because-
shortfall, as the chairman pointed out, because of the increase in the rates from Andover. So, and again, I'm not opposed to offering some sort of incentive to get people to pay on time, which enhances our cash flow, but I'm not gonna do it at a cost to us. Because all it does is puts the water department in a deficit situation.
But we have,
But we have
Mark,
money
did
to
you say
cover.
about
No, I-
$800,000 in that
But I
settlement
understand
funds
that,
that
but
were
I-
supposed to be,
but
well, they're designated for 2 purposes: rate stabilization or capital.
But again, rate stabilization in an unanticipated, like, if we had a shortfall this current fiscal year, I'd be looking to that right now. But we know going forward, we're going to have a shortfall because of what Andover's done. We also have some capital needs for the water department that need to be met in order to maintain the water quality and the delivery of water within our system. So the one-time money should be leveraged to handle the capital expenditures as opposed to, the rate stabilization, I saw that as a one-year thing right now. How we doing? Again, we had a year where the usage was down, so therefore the less that was used, the less money we generate. So therefore, we may have had an anticipated shortfall for this year. It doesn't appear as though we're going to. But going forward, we know as we're setting our rates, we should at least cover our costs. And again, if we want to incorporate some sort of a discount, then on top of that, add the incentive, but what's being proposed is actually putting us in a deficit situation.
Finance Committee?
I had a quick question. If Andover just raises its rates by 10%, but not all of our water comes from Andover, we provide some of our own water.
I think that's why they had the 4% number.
Right, that's why what's being proposed is 4.
Okay.
Jeffrey?
Yeah, I do agree with both Steve and Bob here, that we should cover our costs and we shouldn't do it at a loss. I'm going back in my thoughts that when you came up with these suggestions, okay, what was your mindset on these? I mean, obviously, one would cover the cost and period, but when you came into 2 and 2A, why the 2A? I mean, did you think that would, somewhere along the line, because of what you're seeing, with the way people are paying for their bills or not paying for the bills, that if you did it with a 12-10 scenario, that you probably would get that 4% anyway as a result?
Yeah, it's very difficult to make that projection, but what we did to come up with what's the 12%, well, we looked at kind of what's the percentage of people that pay on time and what's the percentage of people that pay late now. And if that current percentage holds true, and we do a 12% increase, and the 70% that pay on time and the 30% that pay late, that works out to our 4% that we were looking for. I had no sense that those percentages are gonna stay the
Right,
same
yeah, I
after we do
understand.
that. The 12.2% is assuming half the people that pay late now say, well, if you're gonna charge me 12% more, I'm gonna pay on time. That works out to kind of a 2% increase, and then you're gonna get an additional 2% from people who pay late. It is a
It's a
roll
guess.
of the dice, you don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
I mean, from the state DOR perspective, what they like us to do, the 4% rate increase guarantees, or, pretty much guarantees the 4% revenue increase.
And additionally, if we offer these types of discounts, then they become an anticipated billing mechanism that people would anticipate they'd be getting. Now, all of a sudden, they're not getting their 10 or 12% discount anymore, and the mindset would be is that we've increased rates 10, 12%. If we can't maintain that standard. I see this as again, there's gonna be again, 12% is a huge discount, and you're going to jog a lot of the money that's delinquent loose, I would expect.
I agree.
I would expect, but that's more of a one-shot deal, to clean up the books and get people in the habit of paying on time and enticing them to do so. But once they get into the cycle of paying, all of a sudden, we're selling it at a loss now, because everybody's paying on time. And then we have to either remove the discount or raise the rates more. Either way, from a political standpoint, it doesn't make sense, because trying to explain to people what you're trying to do and what the formula is not a 20-second soundbite. So I think maybe just, if we need 4%, you need 4% to cover your costs. And again, as far as the revenues that's sitting there, the additional money, I think it should be earmarked for capital, the water department, which again saves the ratepayers money in the long run.
So, if.
Mr. Vino?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If what I'm hearing then is, there's no way we can give a discount to people who pay on time and collect the money we need. Is that what I'm hearing?
There is a way to do that. It's a matter of setting the right percentages, and, my percentages and your percentages are probably equally valid in terms of where you think to go with that. You could do a 6% increase and give a 4% discount, or give a 2% discount. There's a way to do it, but it's a matter of selecting the right numbers.
Joe, what Mark proposed is he's betting that 30% of the ratepayers will pay late.
Right.
And given
Yes,
that,
yes, I
then we'd
understand
make
that.
up the 4%.
Right.
I think given a 12% discount on a 12% increase, right?
Right.
People are gonna take advantage of it.
No, I
They're
do
not gonna pay
understand
the
that,
extra
but that's
12%.
That's why I was
I
asking.
don't see it balancing the budget, so. Getting back to
Guess you don't wanna hear
I'm sorry, getting back to the capital stabilization fund, right? That specifically is for capital. We could decide we're gonna use a portion of it to offset a rate increase.
Right.
But as soon as we need some major piece of equipment or some major improvement to a well site or a treatment plant, right, then the rate's gonna go up on that basis. It's an enterprise. It's self-funding,
I-
So our costs have to match